Oh,
Sorry.
it's all good. Here we are. Welcome to our May 14th outreach meeting, outreach and network guild. Excuse me. I don't need to abbreviate all the time. Um, and we will start with a grounding exercise slash land acknowledgement. Is there anyone who would like to lead that? I am happy to do so. Awesome. So I invite you to close your eyes, find a comfortable or more comfortable seated position, and just start to notice your breath, what it feels like to be a body right now, seated and held to the earth by gravity. Notice your breath moving in and out of your body, exchanging air with our surroundings, this ever present dynamic relationship between our bodies and our environment. And notice the feeling of the weight of your body resting on the seat and how the earth and the building, the floor underneath you, excuse me, rises up to meet your body. And I invite you to see with your mind's eye the foundation of the building that you're in, how that foundation is rooted down in the earth. You might start to zoom out and see the whole of the building that you're in. And notice what you remember about the outside of the building and the grounds where you are right now. What can you remember about what it looks like, what it smells like? Maybe imagine how the air feels on your skin. And notice who and what is around you on the land. Maybe there are some tree relatives, other plants, a garden. Maybe there's cats or a dog or a goat or five. And just taking a moment to be on the land where we live and work and play, noticing how the land is always holding us and giving to us as we give back to the land as well. Centering the land in our experience because everything that we are and experience comes from the land and will return to the land and is part of the land. And now I invite you to cultivate some gratitude in your heart for the land and for all our relations on the land, including the stewards of the land, the indigenous peoples of these lands where we live, who are very much still here and still doing the best they can to care for the land and to advocate for care and love and respect for all the lands on this planet. And I offer my gratitude specifically to the Coahuiltecan, Comanche, Lipan Apache, Germano, Tonkawa, Waco, Caddo, Wichita peoples, these nomadic tribes who have lived in deep relationship with these lands since time immemorial. And may we all seek to move toward right relationship with the lands where we live and the peoples of these lands and all of our relations. And may that lead to us being good ancestors as well for the generations to come. I invite you to notice your breath and your body again. You might start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and join us back in the circle. So I just thought of a check-in question, which is coming directly from the environmental experience I'm having here in Texas, which is, what is heating up for you? Literally, metaphorically, take that where you will. And the circle, as I see it, is Ben, Roland, and what is heating up for you?
The research project, that aspect of it, of the Lifeboat Academy has been, it is simmering. It is currently simmering. And over to you, Roland. Literally, the days are warming up. So just a simple, grounded, body-oriented thing. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, ditto to the weather getting warm, and also lately my values, the importance of my values and my boundaries, and how everything is practice. So how I do one thing is how I do everything. So really, that is feeling very, very warm and in my face lately. All right, thank you for checking in, and I will now share my screen so we can go to our guild page on Asana, which I think is here. Can you see it? Awesome. So this is our tentative agenda for our meeting today. Awesome. So an update for the guild is that the 6 conversations facilitation team has met, and we decided on 3 out of the 6 questions that we're going to be prompting folks with for the Lifeboat Circle Conversations series, which I still don't know what the official title of it is. Maybe we could talk about that. And we're going to be meeting again this week to hopefully wrap up that conversation and be able to move towards getting the word out about when that is happening. And for anybody who's watching who doesn't know, this is sort of a dual effort between the Outreach Guild and the Heartwork and Philosophy Guild. So we both have a vested interest in fleshing this out and carrying it out and seeing how it goes. And I have volunteered to write the invitation email for that when the details are finalized. So that will be part of the Outreach Guild happenings as well. And the 2 things that I put on the agenda for today are reviewing any feedback about the website, which has been one of our goals for this season, to review our website and other materials that we have, and also to get started on our seasonal review for the guild, which I'm not really sure how much time that will require, but to at least get into it a bit and see where it takes us. Are there any other topics that people would like to add to the agenda for today's meeting? Over to you, Ben.
No, that sounds good to me. Yeah, that's perfect. Over to Roland. I just have uh, proposed draft, whatchamacallit, Instagram post around the leading up to the 6 conversations that I'm just working out how to send a link to, so that we can also look at that around the 6 conversations. And that's the only thing that I would like to add.
Awesome. That sounds great. So, let's see, maybe we could do that, look at the website and look at that, and then head into some seasonal review time. First, have folks reviewed the website?
I
Yeah, I
did.
haven't. Okay. I wanted to at least have some stuff to go off of for that. So let me here it is. Oh yay. Awesome. So this is your feedback here, Ben.
I blended it in.
You blended. Oh, awesome. Oh, that's great. Great, thank you.
Yeah, so this is a
Okay.
combination of yours and mine. And it also reminded me that Pamela did give us feedback in an email.
Oh,
And
okay.
actually, while we're continuing on, I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, that'd be great because I totally forgot. I also want to pull up the website and see if it's possible to look at both at the same time. So let me, which screen do you currently see? You still see Asana?
Asana, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I think you need to unshare and reshare.
Yeah.
And if you when you go to share, if you do the top upper left choice, that's whatever screen you're looking at.
Okay. Okay. Let's see if I can get this side by side. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of finagling. All right, so now back to Zoom. Okay, so we have the website on the left, sort of a condensed version, and then we have our notes on the right. Is that what you see? Okay, great. So our first, so we have a general note about slow loading time. Is there a way to speed that up? Um, my first thought about that is because of the time it takes for the URL lifeboat.academy to route us to the WordPress site. There's a little bit of a lag there, I think. And I don't know if there's a way to speed that up. Does anybody else?
Well, and I think this is actually a question for David.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is just a technical question that we'll see. I think this is definitely something he would either be able to point us in the right direction. It may be a setting with our provider, or or it might be how it's configured, or who knows what. But I think it's not a question I can answer.
Okay. And then so some feedback that I gave is having more information about the Lifeboat Network on the front page of the website. Because right now the website is very farm focused. And I think when people go to the website, oh, there's Linda. I think when people go to the website looking for information about lifeboat building, it's not as obvious where that information is. So, hi, Linda.
Hi, I'm so confused. I couldn't find you guys, so I just about left. So you are actually meeting.
Yes, I'm sorry. We're
That's
here.
okay. For some weird reason, I couldn't bring it up on my computer, so I'll be there in a minute. Sorry.
It's okay. Um, I just lost where we were. Oh, thoughts or feelings on that. Over to you, Ben.
It makes sense to me. I'm still trying to find Pamela's notes, but yeah, it makes sense to me. It's tricky. It's a little tricky because uh, there's a part of me that likes this package because it's like the original pitch of, and or maybe I'm talking myself into multiple positions. I think it makes sense that we mentioned the Lifeboat Network. Um, this might be also a wider conversation than just outreach. Um, and it totally makes sense that we need to highlight the network as well. And is it a separate tab? Is it another menu, or does it get incorporated into this? I'm not sure the best way of doing it, but I think it makes sense that we should do it. Over to you, Roland.
Yeah, I think this relates to a perennial conversation that we have about what is the Lifeboat Academy, and the um, the fact that it started off as being centered around a farm, and is that's and it being centered around a farm is not the same thing as being land-based, in my mind. So I think that is still, it's still a point of confusion. And how do we model or sculpt that so that it is legible? Yeah. And I'm not to make any proposals at this point about how to address that, before we have a chance to sort of do a round about that perspective.
Linda,
So
just to catch you up. Oh, I'm sorry, Roland. Were you
that's okay. I'm done.
okay? Linda, we're going over feedback that we've compiled about the website as it currently looks. And one of the things I've suggested is having more information about the Lifeboat Network on the front page of the website, because right now it's very farm focused. So having more ways for people to learn about being a lifeboat builder and the different supports that we offer. And Ben and Roland have both sort of shared that it seems like it's a wider conversation to have potentially with other guilds as well.
Good. Thank you for catching me up. And I'm sorry I've been not around a lot. I'm going through some really heavy legal and business issues right now, and I really should be doing something else, but I thought I'd at least stick my head in here and say hi.
Mhm.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Do you have any thoughts, Linda, on that piece I just shared?
Well, I briefly glanced at the website and I felt it needed a lot of work. I mean, I can't be specific right now because I haven't just looked at it, but it didn't draw me in. There were some issues that didn't seem, it didn't seem like it was being well tended. And, when I investigate organizations that I'm interested in, if it doesn't look like it's being tended to, then right away it gives me that feeling like, oh, this, there must be some issue with the organization and I'm not sure I want to be part of it. So I just give you that as just very brief overview. So I think there could be more on it, but I can't give you anything specific right now. My head is totally in this other direction.
Got it. Thank you. Another piece about the front page, or just generally, is that the footer needs to be updated. We're not currently actively advertising the webinar. The webinar does exist. It's out in the world. And then the schedule a Zoom call thing is that's not exactly how we do things or how the webinar works at all. And then there's the get in touch at the bottom. Which I think is good. And also, if we look at the full screen site, the footer, like, it could just be get in touch, taking up the whole thing. Like, it could be more well laid out, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could even have, go up again, you could even have, what are the ways that people can become involved? Yeah, be more specific,
Mhm.
descriptive, I
Yeah.
guess. So not only what are you, but how can people become, I mean, that's what you ultimately want, right? I'm thinking that you want people to be paying attention to your space because you're doing something that's innovative and creative. And so people who want to start like organizations where they live would want to know how they can learn from you. What are all the ways that the Lifeboat Academy is helping the world to recreate itself and to become a more resilient world. I just got off, by the way, a fabulous, it was an hour and a half long webinar that's put on by the Post Carbon Institute on resilience, and it was really well done. And they focused a lot on the values that you're trying to demonstrate in terms of there has to be inner work and there has to be cultural work, that politics and policies, which aren't happening, of course, around climate change, as we know, will not happen because it's the culture that drives politics, not the other way around. So I thought that was an excellent way of framing the basic experiment that you guys are trying to do. But you got to make it really explicit, and you have to show people how you're going to help them do what you're trying to do, in very explicit ways and with dates and times and costs and whatever you're putting out there. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out, and I haven't been terribly useful because I've been so busy in my own life that I haven't really fully focused on what it is you're doing. I just like hanging out with you guys. And I think you're trying to do something that's kind of cool. But if I were to really get involved, I don't see it yet. I don't see what you're doing yet. And I'm sorry if I'm being too critical here, but I don't see how you're inviting a lot of people in yet. And maybe you're not ready. I mean, maybe that's just where you are, and that's cool too. I mean, it takes a while. I'm done, sorry.
Does anyone have thoughts? Can we go back around the circle over to you then?
Well, getting back to the original question about do we highlight the network? Actually, as I was looking at the language, it is in there. So if you go up, it's not highlighted, but the first half is imagine the space. The second half is of that first paragraph. Imagine an interconnected network of these local models scattered around the globe, sharing information and resources. That's the network. So I think in that next one, in the next paragraph, it might be that's where the language could get updated a little bit. Around, we're both creating a model and creating a network, something like that. So, and I think that just to respond, Linda, to your questions, to your suggestions, you know, any concrete suggestions are welcome. And we have taken all of the feedback that we have received from multiple people along the way, and we've incorporated it to the best of our ability. Everyone is looking for something different. Everyone has a different idea of what it is that there is their litmus test. If we try to put in all of the litmus tests, the feedback we get is there's too much. And, you know, and so if we try to list everything, people say that's confusing. What's the one thing? And we try to list the one thing, people say, well, I don't get a feel of it. It's more things. So we're, you know, we're trying to be as you know, responsive as we can be. It's where you have concrete suggestions, that's where it's helpful. In the abstract, it's not so helpful.
Right.
Um,
And I apologize. I haven't given it the time that I would normally give it. And I
yeah.
understand
Well,
that.
and it's also, I think it is part of, you know, talking about the culture change. I think that, and maybe this is, you know, just rationalization, but part of the challenge is that people are coming in with a particular lens,
Yeah.
you know, they're coming in with a normal culture lens. And so pretty much anything we say gets misinterpreted, you know, or um, I'm reading this book now called Undreaming with Tico, and he talks about, he calls it premature comprehension syndrome, which is this, you know, people hear a phrase and they go, oh, got it. And they either they get it and, you know, it's wrong, or they get it and they know better, and without actually trying to fully understand, you know, what's going on. So anyhow, all of that is to say, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and it's in the particulars, because we've already done that to the best of our ability, and whatever else you have to add will increase our ability. But right now, you know, we've tried to do the best we can of
Yeah.
distilling down the parts that are, you know, seem relevant. And it's just such a moving target. It's just
Yeah.
such a.
And I'm sorry.
So over to you, Roland.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Yeah, I know. So so I will do the same as Ben. I'll go back to the original question. And what I'm wondering is, at this point, is it, instead of trying to reword or add information, can we put in a link, an action link right away on that first page at the end of of those two paragraphs of, you know, right now what we're working on, or what we have are the whatchamacallums, the navigation sessions. So would that be something like just a one sentence, really short write up with a link if you want to register? Or like, I know that's just a suggestion. It could be waiting until the 6 conversations start and having a link to register for the 6 conversations, but just something that you can act on right away, that is part of this larger picture, sort of proposing new ways of building culture. Yeah, so that was the idea for that. And also, I think I want to add, provide a little context around the website as well, because the 3 of us have been working on the website since the website was first put together, and we tend to jump into the work. And so a little bit of context is that the website is still essentially brand new. It's available. We're not doing a lot of promotion for it, but now we are getting to the fine tuning of it. So now is a good time to think about what there is there and how it can be put together, which makes me think about also needing to have a conversation around where we are now and the steps to get to where we want to go. Because I have all sorts of questions about, if I notice something, who do I tell? Who does the updates? Who manages the website? Is there, we can think about badges. We're talking about badges to give for the guild, and is this one of the badges? So I think that not right now, but at some point it would be good to actually do this is where we are, this is where we want to go, and what are the steps that we need to take. And I know we've done that before, and it's been a long time. So either we find what we did before, or we just start fresh from where we are. So that's the context I wanted to add. And the last thing is that I feel like I think that we have put in, we can go as far as we can with what we know, and now I'm looking for people with the skills that we don't have that can help us get to the next level with the website. So I can take the same things and stick them together in different ways, but I don't know what it is that I'm not getting so I need something fresh. I need new skills to be able to figure out what would make sense for the website. Do I pass to you, Ronnie?
Just gonna add a note about that. I liked the idea of an action link and sort of how are we guiding people through, like doing some hand holding for folks to learn about what we do. Because this comes up a lot, is it's so much about the experiences that we're offering, and talking about them doesn't even get close to having people actually experience it. So how can the website be a tool that helps us help other people walk through the experiences and get to know more deeply what it is that we're offering? Yeah, so I just wanted to add that perspective. I'd like to move on to the next page, and I'll just maximize this so we can all see it, which is the About Us page, which has a very cute and also blurry photo from the first design charrette. But this is the text that's on the page, and then goes into detail about the social benefit company, and we also have the stewardship council at the bottom. And feedback we have for this page was the place-based action learning commons. I don't know what your note was about that, Ben.
That was there. I didn't make that note.
Oh, maybe I did. Oh, okay. I think I did. So I wanted it to have this section about the place-based action learning commons and also the international network of lifeboat builders.
Cool.
So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So people can get a sense of, okay, it's both. It's this on-site learning experience, and also there's people all over the world who are networked in and trying to think about things in this way. So continuing that thread from the front page about how do we talk more explicitly about the network throughout the website. And we'll go back through circles. So Ben, Roland, and we'll do Ben, Roland, Linda, and me. Any more feedback or thoughts about this About Us page? Over to Ben.
I like the idea of the additional header. And no, I added the thing about updating the council membership. But yeah, everything else looks fine. I mean, there's also, as we work back and forth with the lawyer, the way we define the social benefit company, like we'll update the language based on what the results with the lawyers are. But to be determined.
That over to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I did not have a chance to go through the website. It's been a busy time. So I'm not familiar with the place-based text at the beginning. But I think this relates to the conversation about how to help to make things clear around there is the place and then there is the Lifeboat Academy, in my mind anyway. So yeah. The other thing that I was wondering about, and this is a completely new idea, so I apologize in advance. I'm just going to say it. But I'm curious about, are there ways of being able to talk about the process with the lawyers? You know, that what we have here is, I'm going to retract that. I'm looking at faces and I'm going to retract that. So I didn't say anything. I just talked about the I think it's a dynamic tension between place-based and international that is very interesting in an also and kind of way. So over to Linda.
Well, I'm really sorry. I probably shouldn't really be here. In fact, I think I'm going to leave, and I really apologize. I've got such churning in my belly. I have not looked at the website. I didn't know this was going to be about the website. I guess I thought we were going to talk about the 6 questions from, how we were going to get it out. But if we're going to talk about the website, I would like a chance to really look at it. I was concerned that this 90-minute video didn't seem to be anywhere. Like I didn't know how, I couldn't sign up for it. I didn't know where it was. I would have immediately looked at it. It seems like that's the one thing it seems like there's 2 things or maybe 3 things that would draw people in right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. The navigation session, the 6 questions, and then you have this annual thing you do, kind of a planning session. Are there other things? Are there other ways people could get involved? I mean, obviously they can join one of these guilds, but why would anybody join the guild unless they wanted to, really, really understand what you're doing, which I kind of did.
Mhm.
So I'm done. That's my question. I may leave if it's going to be mainly about the website. And maybe what I'll do is I'll write up my thoughts about the website when I have a chance. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the main other thing that we offer is, I mean, it's all kind of under the umbrella of lifeboat mentoring, but I think being really explicit that we offer mentoring for folks to build their own place-based resilience network, which also includes one-on-one or 2-on-1 group mentoring and very specialized support for people depending on what they're trying to do. But we also have tools around sociocracy, which includes conflict resolution and effective collaboration. We have all these different webinars that are already recorded that we have to offer too. So it's just a kind of how do we lay it all out in a way that is approachable and not overwhelming? Because it's like Ben said, when we give people the full menu, they're like, this is way too much. I can't make this commitment. I don't want to do this.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so but when we give too little, they're like, well, I don't understand the full picture of what you're doing. What are you really? So it's this constant tension of like, how do we talk about, we have so many tools to offer and so much, there's so much here, and yet different people are pulled in or put off by different things. So it's finding the balance between all that.
Mhm.
If I can just say one thing, and then I think I do. I just need to leave. I've got to write this thing, and I've got to get it in on time. Um, I'd love to be in that conversation because that's been, I mean, I've been confused ever since I've been connected with you guys. What is it you're really trying to do? And how, and it seems like an interesting conversation to have because I think you're doing a lot of really cool things, but I don't see it on the website. So maybe give me a little bit of time. I'll really look at the website. But where would I see all these classes and things you're offering? Where are those?
They're also on our help desk.
Well, and they're on the events. They link through the events. We can update the events page, but the events page is where that was. So I'm jumping queue, but there's a couple things too that I guess it's also context. One is we made a decision early on, and for right or wrong, we made a decision early on that we wanted this to be relational, and so we wanted the website to pique people's curiosity and really get them to say, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you." And that really what we wanted was people to either come to a navigation session or ideally just to book a time to sit down and say, "I'd like to chat with you more about what it means to build a lifeboat." And so we didn't want it to be largely online experience, like you click and you watch and we never hear from you. In part because we were trying to figure out once we could engage people in a conversation, we could, part of the tools that we have are ways of assessing where people are in a developmental process. And so when we know where they are in the developmental process, we can offer tools that are appropriate to where they are. But we can't know that ahead of time. And that was one of the, we can't give the whole menu because some people aren't ready for some of the things that are on the menu. And so that's why we were really trying just to pique people's curiosity to the point where they'd say, "Hey, let's have a conversation." And then from the conversation, it would be a kind of a more boutique relational approach to, how do we integrate what you're doing? And so, that's the really it's what we're, in my mind, what we want people to do is say, "Hey, let's talk for half an hour. Can we?" And that's on the contact us. There is actually, that's the other thing too. If you show the contact us page, schedule a time to connect, and then, all of these are ways that you can connect.
But there's no specific, well, how's it working? I guess that would be my question. How is, have
Well, and
people,
like Roland said, we haven't advertised the website very much yet. It's only been a couple of months really since David was like, "Here, website." And we were like, "Yay, finally." And so so this review, we've been wanting to do this review for weeks now, and we're finally getting to, okay, we have this website. It's our season, it's time for our seasonal review. So let's review the website and see what we need to update or change or whatever. So
well, if it's okay, I'm going to leave, but I promise I will check out your website and I will give you as many specific suggestions as I can. When will you be meeting again on the website?
we don't know.
We don't know.
Well, the hope was that this was the meeting that will start to take actions. So because it's been one of the things that's been posted for a couple meetings now, that for everyone to take the time to review the website, and we were trying to gather together the results here. So, but it's a website, so it's never done. So there will always be, and I think this is Roland's point about what is our ongoing process, where anytime somebody notices something or events change, like the events page should get updated every time there's a big event, right?
Yep.
And
And
uh,
even if we come to an understanding of, we're going to do this stuff, how much are we going to actually be able to do given the number of people and all of our other commitments will we be able to do in the next 2 weeks? So I could see us, and this is a lookout for, I think we can communicate via email what the next outreach guild meeting is going to be about again. And but I could see having sort of a follow-up conversation about the website. And I think for the 6 conversations, I think it is there's the 3 facilitators that are meeting to work out the details around the 6 conversations, when they'll be ready and when to put out the word, I think.
right,
Yeah.
it's been because the guild came to an agreement on what the project was, and then basically handed it over to the facilitator team to figure out the last details, and that will be ready as of this Wednesday.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that's our next meeting.
Yeah.
So we are, ready to launch the 6 conversations. That format is more or less set, and we're proceeding on that. So
When is
yeah,
that?
and
So
that's and the
I know there's going to be a navigation session tomorrow.
yeah,
Is the 6 conversation thing, when is that going to actually start?
that's one of the decisions we're making tomorrow. We know it's
Yeah.
going to be Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, and we're deciding what's the right Tuesday to start.
Gotcha.
It'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks from next Tuesday.
And just to be clear, the navigation session is not the conversation about the 6 conversations, right?
Right,
You're
yeah,
meeting separately about that, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, I apologize for my lack of participation. I've been terrible, but if you knew what was going on in my world, you'd understand. I'm trying to do the best I can to just stay as
Well, and you've been communicating and letting us know what's going on, and I can't ask for more than that. That was very much appreciated, and
Yeah.
we get it.
Well, and that's actually part of our collective resilience is, yep, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Things happen.
It's a mean, cruel world out there, let me tell you. People sue you and it's really horrible. So I'm going back to figuring out how I need to defend myself. So bye, you're doing great. I'll look at the website and get you anything specific I can.
Okay.
Thanks, Linda.
All
Keep
right,
the faith.
all right.
Alrighty, so we already kind of got into the events page. But updating the events because we have some new things happening the navigation sessions are ongoing, and then scheduling the 6 conversations. So letting people know what's up with that. And then I had somebody made a note about, oh yeah, the sidebar. So linking to the help desk video on the sidebar instead of these 2 things, or 3 things,
Mhm.
which are not helpful currently.
Well,
Um,
actually, I mean, I think that I'm sorry,
well, over to you. Let's just circle.
because I think that the sidebar works with the DIY webinar invitations, current invitation to the navigation sessions, and the lifeboat circles. I mean, that's the 6 conversations lifeboat
Yeah.
circle. So that'll get updated, and we just need to, change the schedule a Zoom call and make sure that the links are accurate. But I think those are a good 3 things to link to. It's just that we can link to the help desk for the DIY, and then to the Calendly sign up links for the lifeboat circles and the navigation sessions. And then for the feature, what I meant by featuring is that that main thing, join us for our annual planning process, gets changed to join us for the 6 conversations.
And so there will be more info. there
Yeah.
about-
Yeah.
Oh, I see that here. Okay. Roll on, sorry. I skipped circle. Over to you.
I don't have anything to add at this point. Over to you, Ronnie.
Okay. Over to the investors page. Um, someone had mentioned recently, or I don't know, it came up in a conversation somewhere about the investor language and how when people hear investor, they automatically assume, oh, I'm going to get all this money because I'm investing. So I had put a note about, do we want to adjust that language? And I see here, Ben suggested stakeholders, backers, and then also the need to have an inter-guild conversation about social mortgage holders. So yeah, maybe this all kind of seems in the realm of seasonal review. Where are we now? How have things evolved? And how do we want to shift the language?
Mhm.
Over to you, Ben.
Only thing I would add is that the conversation with the lawyers will also feed into this. So kind of that's if we think the website is really about pulling together the information, and then finance and legal are going to help with this language. That's part of, and I guess we should make sure from a communication perspective that as the outreach guild, we send a message to legal and finance, hey, we're looking at the website and we need some feedback on language.
So, over to Roland. Where?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was about to say, I agree with Ben. I will say that, half-wit. And also, if the language is currently problematic, there is the possible, we could potentially change the words that seem to be problematic now into something more neutral, and then whatever. So we can either leave it as it is until we get clarification from finance and legal guild, or we can change whatever language seems problematic in the right now to something more neutral, and then change it whenever we get clarification from finance and legal. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have nothing else to add. So I'll move on to our magazine section, which has the search bar at the top, and then has a few different articles from Ben's Medium account. And some feedback we have for the magazine tab is, what categories do we want to use? And could it potentially tie into the compass? And how do we start adding items to the magazine? Which is also very good functional question. Over to you, Ben. Any other feedback or thoughts?
No, only that in terms of a thought that just came to me is there might be something about tying in the book club to populating articles in the magazine. There might be some link between those conversations. The Connect the Dots Club. Over to you, Roland.
So you're saying that the book club would manage the magazine? Like, articles would get funneled to the
Ooh.
book club to then parse out or deliberate over. Like, I don't like how are you seeing, what is the book club? What is the book club's role? That what were you,
I wasn't suggesting that, but that's a good suggestion. Because I could imagine. So in terms of the Connect the Dot Club, what I am hoping is that there are synthetic articles that come from that. So not just reposting, here's a link to somebody else's article, but that we may have a conversation where we talk about one key aspect of building resilience is healing trauma. And we've read these 4 articles on trauma, and really the takeaway message is, and something we post so collectively we write an article on the role of trauma in resilience, or healing trauma in resilience. And that's our article where we link to some of, as so and so says, and the important part from this is, so we write an article that goes into the magazine. So that's kind of fleshing out that idea. Back to you.
so can we popcorn a little bit or just around this? Because I've got questions and comments at the same time, because it's in it, and this is going back. Well, this would have to go back to the Heartwork Guild, who is doing the Connect the Dots Club, but it sort of sounds, because we were already starting to talk about the Connecting the Dots Club in terms of the research project. So what I'm hearing from what you're saying, it sounds like in reviewing when and doing the connecting the dots, that there's different ways in which we could do that. It could be looking at single books, or it could be looking at how articles relate to each other. And so then during the conversation, the notes can then get shaped into an article that that synthesizes the information to get published in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also
All
wondering
right.
about
So in terms, go
if
ahead.
I were popcorning,
Yeah.
having could include things like, because when I think of a magazine, I think of different kinds of pieces too. Like we could have links to the podcast with Andy when the episodes are out. I'm just thinking about all of the different things that each of us are involved in could
Mm-hmm.
also be part of the magazine, or are,
Mm-hmm.
and if April wrote an article about facilitation and music or something like that, that could go in there.
Mm-hmm.
And just a place for people to come and find really interesting things that they're not going to find elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's very lifeboat relevant.
Yeah.
So
And that's why I was the top comment about, can we tie it? What are the categories so that people, because not everyone's going to be interested. It's nice to have the variety. Some people might only be interested in techniques, and some people might only be interested in big ideas, or whatever. So what are the categories so that you can kind of look at the section that is most interesting? So what are the sections? And that also helps us, I think, to populate the magazine. Like, okay, we need something, if we're going to have a section on skills, then we need to have an article on skills. And if we're going to have a section on celebrations, we have an article on celebrations, or something like that.
I just wanted to point out that popcorning on Zoom is challenging. So if I'm interrupting someone, I may not be interrupting. If you've ever tried to sing Happy Birthday with a group of people on Zoom, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So just FYI with the popcorning, that because of the delay, that can be the challenge. So we know how to be kind to each other. So just FYI.
Well, and should we go back to Circle?
We kind of
What?
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So over to Ronnie.
Okay. Yeah, I like these ideas. I think this is great, and I'm ready to move on if other people. Okay. So, words of support.
And thanks for adding that page back in.
Oh, yeah. So we have just four testimonial type things here.
That's what we call them,
And
testimonials.
yes. And there's a comment here. Could this be incorporated into the homepage or about us? Also, it'd be nice to have a slider with a rotation of support statements. I think that I like that too. And we can have photos too that you slide through and read the testimonials. Um, we have additional words of support that we could pull from our letters of support. I think that's a great idea. Like having something from Elizabeth May on there, for example, would be awesome. And we could also solicit more statements of support through social media if we wanted to as well. Any other thoughts or feedback on words of support? Over to you, Ben.
Nope, I'm good. Over to Roland.
I think this is a page where I feel like we can just throw stuff on. It to me it feels like um, a quantity thing. So I'm wondering about different. Anyway, yes. Uh, putting on Elizabeth May's letter, I think would be a great thing, or her word, or even an excerpt, um, to show who we have. Anyway, it's a little bit like drawing on her star power, and for other people also. Anyway, I just think the letters of support could be a place where we could get some attention from the number and the people that we have on that page. Over to you, Ronnie.
Yeah, I agree. Um, it could even be nice as a part of the footer, maybe like one part of the footer that is rotating through the testimonials so that any
Mhm.
page people are on, they scroll down, they're going to see, oh, Elizabeth May endorses this project.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's ways to play around with it, I think. But yeah, I like these ideas. Okay, can we move on?
Yeah, I just want to ditto. I want to +1 the adding something to the footer, because I think the footer, I agree we need to think about what goes on it, and it looks anemic with just the two things, and I think it would look anemic. It's either one thing across the bottom, or it's multiple things, and I think we need two is the wrong number
Mhm.
of things in the footer. So that's a great thing to add, and I'm good to move on.
Okay, great. So for the donate page, I had commented about currently we have two different fundraisers. We have the Pay It Forward Fund, and then we have Help Float the Boat. And my suggestion was to remove Float the Boat fundraiser, to have the Pay It Forward Fund there. I don't honestly understand the difference between the fundraisers. Like, is is money donated to one going to be different than if it were donated to the other, for example? And I wanted to have some more copy on the page itself about the Pay It Forward concept and the gift economy, the circular economy, and why it is that we do that. I also see a note here from Ben that we could create a variety of fundraisers for different things. Um, can you say more about that, Ben?
Yeah, I think that the original idea of having more than one fundraiser was, as we move into the guilds can run their own fundraisers. And so we could, for example, do like a building specific fundraiser. We're raising money for a garden shed, you know, and the guilds could actually run their own campaign to send people to it. And then there'd be kind of a menu of things on the page that you could pick from. So, I want to help build the shed, or I just want to, the float the boat was meant to be a general fund. Like, I want to help. And the pay it forward was actually supposed to be, I feel like I've received something, I attend the navigation sessions and they're great and I want to pay it forward. So that was the idea. It doesn't come across in how it's set up. And I really like your idea. I think we need text above the fundraiser, and I think that'll help make it clear. And I have no problem with there only being one on there. And that's why I was saying if it's useful, we could have more than one. I agree with you. I agree. Let's remove float the boat. And we can even, let's just have our, pay it forward as unless and until there's a reason to have more than one fundraiser thing there. That's all. Over to Roland.
Sounds good to me. I have nothing to add. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then our last page is contact us. So my feedback about this was having so currently we have here's our email address, send us an email. We also have schedule a meeting. And then we also had this form at the bottom that kind of felt like too many options. So my suggestion, and I also couldn't figure out how to get the form to work. Like I couldn't even find on WordPress, where is the form? Where does it go to? How is it set up? So my suggestion was remove the form, here's our email address, send us an email, keep it simple, and still having the Calendly meeting options, which some of these we can take off because we're no longer doing the live webinars for onboarding. But I think, yeah, having the email and then the meeting option is great. And that's really, I find it very approachable and easy for people to know that they can get in touch. So thoughts or feedback, over to you, Ben.
Yeah, I think that I think there's a sort of a technological accident that happened with the schedule a time to connect, because before there was only the like office hours, I think. There was sort of like, there were two options in there, and I reorganized where the different links were. And so this is just sort of a generic, it's all of the links in one place. So we just need to make sure that there's the right thing on this page. And I agree, it should basically just be office hours. And because it's also the way that page is set up, there's the events column on the left that will stay there. I think that should stay there. So if we have a webinar or whatever, we just make sure it goes in that sidebar, it'll show up. So then, yeah, we need to simplify the Calendly options. So yeah, I'm good. And I agree with the form thing. We received, I know that somebody submitted something on the form, but I only know it because somebody else sent an email saying that they'd done it. And I still have no idea where that message went. I've never seen it, couldn't find it. So yeah, let's just ditch it. Over to Roland.
I think the only thing that I would add, and it's actually a point of clarification for what's on the page right now. We already have an events page, and I think that I guess it's the scheduling Zoom time. Would it make sense to have sort of a doubling of there's the contact us and the specific information, and if you're interested in a specific event, and then just a new button, even though it's at the top, having a new button that redirects people to the events page.
Why? Are you saying instead of the left column? Or would that be in addition?
I think instead.
Oh,
And then that's just my opinion. If you disagree, that's okay.
I think the only, I like websites that are more than one column. And so I just think it's more interesting if there's something on the side. And so that's why I was kind of like, oh, sure. I wouldn't have intentionally put the events, but it does make sense that the way people can contact us is by attending an event. So
Yeah.
if we have and then you don't have to redirect them. So they can go to the events page if they're looking for an event, but if they're going to the contact us, then they can also go, oh, and I could go to a navigation session. So, it's sort of, why not? But, and is you just don't like the look of it there, or why would you want to get rid of the left-hand column?
I think just to simplify. So the left-hand column, does that get automatically updated when the events page gets updated? Okay, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Back
because
over to you, Ronnie.
I was also thinking because there are different times where we're like, here, we're having an info session, we're having a 101 about blah, blah, blah. So people come to contact us because they're like, oh, yeah, I want to get involved. How do I do that? And then they see, oh, there's a blah, blah, blah 101 happening next week. That's perfect for me. And also, it's that thing of like, people have to see something 7 times before they sign up or whatever.
Mhm.
So if they're constantly seeing navigation session, oh, what is this? I don't know. I like the having things in multiple places so that people know that they're happening. I also appreciate the um, idea of simplifying as well. I appreciate both. And that was our last page. Are there any other thoughts or feelings or ideas about the website? Just to wrap up, over to you, Ben.
A side comment, I've been searching this whole time for panelist comments and I can't find them. And in part, that's because I've been, sort of divided. But if I can find them, I will add the comments to the Asana task so that they're all in one place. And just as this is probably, it's inappropriate here, but I want to put the idea out there into the world. And I think it's relevant to the comments that Linda was making about, what are we actually offering and who do we want to talk to and what are we, how do we conceptualize what we're doing? And it's also, I think, coming out in the finance and legal guild conversations around, how do we position ourselves or whatever. And, really leaning into this, how do I want to say this? If we really think of ourselves as an academic institution, an educational institution, and you think about the role of the university in the larger society, people come into a university to get trained in a set of skills that then make them marketable for positions in the rest of the world. And the companies that are hiring know that the people who come out of these institutions they're confident at a level of training. And I think that could be a role that we could be playing, where we're kind of almost brokering the people who want to work in lifeboat situations and people who are trying to make lifeboat projects happen. And it's one of the things that I know from a lot of the projects that are going on right now is, and I mean, we have the same problem. How do you find people? How do you find qualified people who are on the same page, who actually can contribute and that you don't have to train yourself? And so in a way, and similarly, the companies don't come to the university and say, I want them trained this way. The university makes decisions about, what they include, what's important, and, how they're going to adjudicate that. And at the same time, you want to make sure that you are filling a need. And I think that we could that's a possibility, that we have connections with lots of people, with the Bernies and the it's John in Alaska, and a bunch of the Brad Smith's people who have properties, and they're looking for people who can come and make it work, and they don't know how to find them. And we also then can be reaching out the other way. It's a little bit like, young agrarians. It's that sort of intermediary where we could be looking out for people who want to come up to speed on their ability to be a lifeboat crew member. And anyhow, so that also, I think, can tighten up some of the language. It's not just that we are a lifeboat and part of a network. We are actually where people come to learn the skills to be a lifeboat crew member, and we can maintain connections with this network of lifeboats. So I don't know if that helps. It helps. Potentially that might help us clarify how we structure some of that stuff on the website. But again, part of it, and I think it's also, that's a little bit the Connect the Dots Club, and it's a little bit finance and legal, and it's a little bit outreach, and the network, and figuring out how we have that conversation across those different guilds. So that's my final thoughts. Over to you, Roland.
This is a technical visual thing. There is no Lifeboat Academy insignia in the tab. At the top of the screen, there's a little tab thing, at least on a PC. And I don't know how complicated it would be just to add a little thing in there. Because in fact, being a person like myself that has 500 billion trillion tabs open at any one time, actually having the little symbols at the top is really handy, and it looks finished. So how to add the logo at the top in the tab. And that's the only comment that I wanted to add. Over to Ronnie.
Cool. Yeah, Ben, I think that's a really interesting conversation to have. And I've been also having thoughts about how can we formalize the learning journey a little bit more, both as a way to make things more efficient, and also to get deeper commitment from people, that they're not
Mhm.
just popping into a navigation session, but they're actively committed to building skills, learning, learning badges, and
Mhm.
facilitating, and all of these things. So yeah, I think this is a really good ongoing thing to be engaged with. I also like the idea of how do we get the logo into the tab. Yeah, I think I can do some research. The other thing I wanted to say about all of this is there are some action items here, and I'm willing to poke around on the website and see, like, go through each page, like, how much of these things can I figure out and get done? What do I need to ask David about? And then if I have further questions um, about the different pages, then we can have more discussion about it. I just, like, knowing all of our capacities and skills, I think I feel positioned well enough to be able to do some of that work. And then um if there's maybe at some point there will be other people who come in who are like, I know WordPress really well. Let me manage the website. And I would be like, please.
Mhm.
Because I can do it, but it's like every little thing. I'm like, how do I do this? Is it over here? Is it over here?
Me too. I'm there to help. But you know, capacity. And I want to do it. You know, it's kind of I find it interesting to be able to go in and figure it out, but it's just time and capacity.
Yeah. And for me doing it, it might be I get a little bit done at a time. And
Yeah.
but the website is a living thing.
Yeah.
So it's just
Well, and
how
that
it goes.
actually, speaking of action items, I was just, it would be really important to go through and pull out from this any of the action items that are not sort of directly website. Like there's checking with letting finance and legal know about language around social mortgage, and just making sure that those are the Asana tasks that we can get to the right guild for consideration.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Cool.
Oh,
Yes.
well, the very last thing I would like to talk about today is just the proposed. It's not finished, but the proposed meme to advertise that the six conversations is coming.
Yeah.
Where essentially I took the wording that was in the newsletter and just arranged it. And so if you go to the chat, and should be able to just click on the link, and it'll open the
Okay.
Well, and you know what this makes me think is to hand this off. I mean, it's me, Ronnie, and April. But because all I'm thinking is to integrate this with the email. So tomorrow, my intention is we will finalize the questions for the last 3 sessions, and then we will turn our attention to advertising. And that involves the email, but also stuff like this. And what is the strategy? How much do we want to promote? Where do we want to promote? All that kind of stuff. So I think this is perfect to have this ready, and some of the tweaks that we might want to make will come out of tomorrow.
Cool.
I agree. I think tomorrow I want to get the date set, the start date set, and I want to give ourselves a good chunk of lead time to be advertising and really building it up. Like this is the big cool thing that we're doing. Because I love this design, and I'd love to have the actual start date in here. Like this is
Yeah.
happening. Mark your calendar. There's limited space, so please RSVP.
Yeah.
Like let us know.
I thought this could be interesting just as part of the building up, is that we don't have a date yet, but it's coming. So that anyway, but if you're going to be talking about it tomorrow, then
Yeah, it's tomorrow. And oh shoot, I'm blanking on her name. Siona. For the community justice group, we have Siona who does our social media. And one of the things that she does that I think is pretty cool is like when we have something coming up, she'll do a story, and she'll do the same graphic, like so the same Zen circle, and then it'll be like Lifeboat Circle series, and then the next one will say, if you've been thinking about a place-based resilience network, here's the place to come. It's a pilot that, so it's kind of animated almost. So you can break up the text and basically the text doesn't have to go on one image, because when you do the story, it goes bink, bink, bink. So and then the last one has the link.
The one thing that I didn't do I just did this as a beginning mock-up, but I did it for the navigation session to put up a story, which is a different format than this. So I have to take this and then make it into a story. But I like what you're suggesting. So
Well,
I
and
could.
this, sorry,
No, go ahead.
you could make into slides
Right.
for an Instagram post. So with each of the breaking up the text, it's like 4 to 6 slides, and then each of those post to the story in order.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was just saying that this is just a meme that goes onto the permanent thing, and then there's the stories, and that I was agreeing that that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, and she does
Yeah.
do both. She'll do a meme on the one side and then the same thing on stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Cool.
And then just posting to the stories every day,
right.
because not everyone's going to see them.
Yeah, or a couple times, not necessarily every day, but well, anyhow, capacity.
Yeah. Well, right. But often.
Often, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, we did not get to the seasonal review, but we did review the entire website, which is awesome and was much needed, and also has prompted a lot of different other sort of tentacly conversations and connections with other guilds and other work. So I think this
Mhm.
was really generative, and thank you both for participating.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any last thoughts for the good of the cause? Over to Ben.
Yeah, I'm glad that, I mean, I knew this was going to take a while and it was worthwhile. And it now means that when we do our seasonal review, instead of saying, oh, and we're going to get to that website review, we can actually say, oh, and we reviewed the website, accomplishment, check. And so, yes, I think it's a really good use of time. Over to you, Roland.
Yeah, and yeah, I look forward to the notes, and something that I just as a suggestion, something that I am trying to do with the artwork guild is to allow space for the conversation to continue via email, because this meeting and the recording is not meant to be the end of the conversation, but to give opportunity for other guild members to participate as a
Mhm.
suggestion.
Awesome.
Over to you, Ronnie.
Yeah, so I will pull out the action items from the website review, and then make sure the notes are all there, and then I will send them out with the recording. Cool.
Cool.
Good job.
Yep.
All right. See ya.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.